So, you seen the notch trend that I don't like? Well, this phone won't change my opinion about that, but let's see what the Oukitel U18 has to offer. So to start off, like I said, there is something at the top of this display, and that is this cutout creating a notch. The idea is basically been taken over from the iPhone X, but there are some key differences of course. For one, it doesn't hold all the sensors like the iPhone X, however it does feature Face ID. For myself however, I would say use the fingerprint scanner, it's more secure and it works pretty fast. But in terms of design, the front looks fine apart from the notch of course. It does however have a bottom bezel, which I don't mind myself in terms of use, but it doesn't help this whole asymmetric design. And honestly, for the price though, the display isn't that bad at all. Colors are pretty nice and it does get pretty bright. Sure, you cannot compare it to the Samsung Galaxy S9 for instance, but it gets bright enough. And the display is a 5.85 inch HD Plus panel with a 21:9 ratio. Overall, the build of the phone itself feels pretty solid again, and it feels fine in the hand, though it's a bit thicker. But that is of course because of the 4000 mAh battery inside of this phone that gives you ample of battery life to easily last you through the day. It's however when you turn it around, you get to the ugly side of the phone. This mixed design feels somewhat like the Mate 10 because of the stripes itself, but then made with a metal back. I'm not a fan of that. However, not making it out of glass or plastic does make it less slippery and not a fingerprint magnet. And when we get down to the internals, meaning specs, we see a very similar picture compared to a lot of budget phones out there. We have the standard MediaTek MT6750T CPU. It has 4GB of RAM and 64GB of internal memory, and it runs on Android 7.0. And of course it is all powered, like I said, by a 4000 mAh battery. And it is pretty nice to see that at the bottom we have a USB-C port, and slowly we are seeing more and more budget phones adopting this. However, I always have this with Oukitel, and that is the length of the metal needed for the USB-C port. A normal USB-C port cable won't fit because the metal connection is too short and you need a longer one, so the port is too deep. You do get it with the phone, but it is something that you have to keep in mind when you buy an extra cable or you want to have a charger down and upstairs. Overall though, the experience with this phone is that it works pretty smooth in normal use, which shouldn't come as a surprise because we have seen the CPU a lot. However, don't ask too many crazy things of it. It is of course still a budget CPU after all. What for me though stands out is their own skin. This skin works well and it looks good and it works smooth. It also somewhat reminds me of the Samsung setup, and for myself, I'm fine with that. But let's look at something where most budget phones fail to impress me, and that is its camera or cameras. Because there is a whole debate about the second camera being a fake on many of these budget phones. However, this one doesn't act like it has a depth of field or anything like that, which I'm happy with. But let's just get to the main camera and the results I get, because this is an odd one. There is this filter on top of the pictures that gives the picture a lot of character, but it looks like something you would do via Instagram. For myself, I can like the result of it, but you do create a potential problem with it, and that is that not everyone will like this filter. But in general, pictures are fine and nothing impressive in terms of dynamic range or low light shots, just like every budget phone out there. The filter, however, is something that really limits the camera, and like I said, not everyone will like this. And then of course we get to the video as well, and we see that we have this same filter effect, but we also see that there is a lack of optical image stabilization, which is expected for a price like this. Again, it's pretty much the same result as the pictures, and the filter is something you're either a fan of or not, but in video I'm definitely not a fan of it. Overall though, for myself, I somewhat like what Oukitel did here in terms of using the phone. It works well, it works fast enough for your daily things, and the battery life is great. And in pictures, it can somewhat create nice pictures depending on whether you like that filter or not. It is technically not a great camera, meaning dynamic range and color correctness, but that filter can somewhat help you if you want to create a picture with a lot of character. However, I still think that they shouldn't have done this because it doesn't always work. Either way, what do you think about the Oukitel U18? Let me know in the comments below, and of course if you like, don't forget to like and maybe subscribe. If you do, please hit that bell icon so you get a notification when I upload a new video, because somehow subscribing is not enough anymore on YouTube. Either way, have a good one and talk to you guys in the next.